Well, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says she's ready to send 4 times as many federal officers to Portland if the city doesn't make changes at the ICE facility. Before she left Oregon last night, she went on Fox News and didn't hold back.
One of the things I've been dealing with all day here in Portland is a bunch of pansies that are elected into political office who won't make a decision to keep their citizens safe.
Noem told Fox she wanted the city to provide more security around the building, including a bigger buffer zone for federal officers, at least as big as Noem got yesterday, and a free speech zone to limit where protesters can go.
The chief asked if I wanted to meet with the mayor, and I said absolutely. Came back and just met with the mayor, and I'm so extremely disappointed. He's continuing to play politics, did not commit to any of those promises, and said that he'd give me an answer by tomorrow. And I'm hopeful that he will. What I told him is that if he did not follow through on some of these security measures for our officers, we were going to cover him up with more federal resources, and that we were going to send 4 times the amount of federal officers here so that the people of Portland could have some safety. They could have some security.
Okay, Wilson did send that response to Noem's team today, but it may not have been what she was hoping for. Like we said earlier, he didn't openly agree to any of the demands. He instead called for federal officers to wear body cameras, identify themselves, and stop using chemical munitions. Writing, the actions of certain officers continue to be deeply disturbing to our community, and the lack of accountability and transparency for what appears to be unconstitutional behavior against individuals expressing their rights will only serve to deepen the divide between this facility and our community. He also called on the federal government to clarify a couple of comments President Trump recently made in regards to deploying troops to U.S. cities, writing, "We continue to ask the administration, or that the administration, define what full force means to the city of Portland and the role our city would provide as a, quote, training ground for federal operations." Noem told Fox News that city leadership cares more about protesters than residents.
This mayor is going to wait until somebody gets violently hurt or killed. He's going to have blood on his hands because he sat around and thought too long, because he was too scared of the political ramifications of making a big decision to keep his city safe. That's my concern, is that you've got so many people here in Portland playing politics. They don't realize they're up against professional terrorists. Antifa-affiliated individuals are outside this building right now shouting death to my law enforcement officers while the mayor drives home and probably has a fancy dinner tonight and goes to sleep in his cushy bed. It's just not acceptable, and I'm so glad that isn't going to continue to happen in President Trump's America.
And today, Secretary Noem was part of a roundtable discussion in D.C. with President Trump, AG Pam Bondi, and conservative influencers who spent time on the ground in Portland. Their topic of discussion, Antifa. Secretary Noem's rhetoric on Portland from Fox News last night spilled into today when she accused Governor Tina Kotek and Mayor Keith Wilson of, quote, covering up terrorism on Portland streets. That's as President Trump threatened to jail elected officials, pointing specifically to Chicago, who oppose troop deployment in American cities. Of course, he also brought up the Rose City.
And in Portland, Oregon, Antifa thugs have repeatedly attacked our offices and laid siege to federal property in an attempt to violently stop the execution of federal law. Everything we're doing is very lawful. What they're doing is not lawful. And what the governor and the mayor of, as an example, you could say of Portland, and you could say certainly of Chicago, it's not lawful what they're doing. They have to be very careful.
The president also made a bit of an odd reference when talking about going after people who, quote, fund Antifa, saying he may currently eat meals with those people. He then followed that up with a tangent about types of stationery, appearing to point to that as evidence that members of Antifa are being paid.
They have been very threatening to people, but we're going to be very threatening to them, far more threatening to them than they ever were with us, and that includes the people that fund them. Probably some of the people I know, some of the people I dine with, but if they do, they're in deep trouble. So we're going to be looking very strongly at the people that are funding these operations. When you see the signs, and they're all made out of a beautiful, beautiful paper, beautiful, nice, stiff, very expensive paper with beautiful wood handles, all the same color. They come from very expensive printing machines. These are not people that write out their signs in a basement that believe in something. These are paid anarchists.